Does your aim ever look like this? Well, mine does, and I'm pretty tired of being so bad. So I decided it was time to do something about it. What's up, FPS family? Today we're going to cover one of the most important topics when it comes to improvement. When I'm watching someone like Shroud or Hiko play, I'm always amazed at how good their aim really is. I mean, there's a whole video dedicated to proving that Shroud is a hacker. That's how good he is. What if I told you that you could reach that level also? And you can. You see, there are people with great raw talent that could reach a high level of performance really quickly, but in the end, there's only one thing that will get you to that pro level aim, and that is practice. If we look at all the pro players, they have banked tens of thousands of hours of gameplay in their game of choice. If we take a look at Brax's profile, we see he has 12k hours in CSGO and 9k in CS 1.6. That's almost 3 whole years of game time. Now when you hear this, you might be a little discouraged thinking that you could never reach this level because you don't have that kind of time. Maybe you have time for 1 or 2 games a day, or maybe even a game or 2 a week. But I'm here to tell you that there's a shortcut, and this shortcut is guaranteed to work. The simple solution here is to use an aim trainer for a dedicated amount of time every single day. And yes, this will not instantly improve your performance in the game. If you want to get better at CSGO, then play CSGO. Same goes for every game. But in every game, there's one thing that stays consistent, and that is aim. This is a core mechanic that is better trained outside of the game. If you look back at many pros, they all had some sort of training or warm-up routine. And if you look at their warm-up routines, they were much more intense than your typical training routine. And yes, you can use modes in the game, such as playing on custom maps with bots to train your aim. This will work just as well as an aim trainer, except an aim trainer is easier to modify and track your progress with. If we look at a typical CSGO match or Valorant match, you spend about 1% of the time actively aiming. What I mean by this is you are aiming at some sort of target, not simply holding an angle or moving around. In a 45-minute CSGO game where I had 35 kills, I only spent 3 minutes in actual gunfights. So in this sense, if you train aim for 30 minutes a day, that is equivalent to 7.5 hours of matchmaking, assuming you are top fragging in those games. So the point is, you could get the same amount of aim training from a 30-minute training session as someone who plays matchmaking for 8 hours a day. I can't believe it took me this long to reach this point of realization. In all the years I've spent gaming, if I had a training regimen I did every single day, I would have pro level aim at this point. But I didn't, simply because training isn't as fun as playing. If you want to use a sports metaphor here, it's the same as someone practicing their free throws for basketball. How often do they actually free throw in a game? Not that often. And if they only train in games, their free throw average will be horrible. So are you convinced that you should be using an aim trainer yet? Maybe this was enough to convince you, but maybe not. So let's show you the results of using an aim trainer for 2 weeks. First, let's establish the setting for this experiment. We'll be training using a free software on Steam called Aim Labs. No, I'm not sponsored by them. There's another popular software called Kovacs Aim Trainer, which is also on Steam, but I think it costs around $10. If you guys want to see a video on that software, let me know in the comments down below. We will be performing 5 exercises for 5 minutes each. These exercises were chosen to cover a wide variety of movements and aiming techniques. If you would like a detailed guide on setting up a training routine, check out Aimer7's Aim Training Guide. There will be a link in the description. If you don't want to think too much about it, you could simply copy my generic routine and change it as you see fit. If you would like more details on choosing a routine, simply let me know in the comments down below. The 5 routines we'll be using are as follows. Grid shot. This exercise is a classic one. You will see a lot of people doing this exercise. It trains your speed, target selection, flicks, and reactions. It is also a great warm-up exercise. Spider shot. This exercise trains your flicks and reactions. A target appears in the center of the screen. After you shoot it, another one appears somewhere on the wall. After that one is destroyed, the middle one appears again, and the cycle continues. 6 shot. This exercise trains precision. 6 small targets will always be spawned on the wall for the duration of the whole exercise. Strafe track. This exercise trains your tracking left and right movement. Different sized targets will spawn one at a time, and after tracking the target for a certain duration of time, it will be destroyed and a new one will spawn. Sphere track. This exercise trains your tracking in all directions. The sphere will spawn and it will move in every direction around your screen. The target is invincible, so it will never be destroyed. To track my progress, I took my high score for every exercise each day and recorded it in an Excel file. I then created line charts to show the progress. Let's take a look at those. So in grid shot, our first score was 80,900. We see a nice linear increase in performance with our best score of 93,000 happening on day 10. Most of our improvement here can be attributed to the increase in speed between switching targets. In spider shot, our first score was 74,698, and our best score of 83,136 occurred on day 9. With this exercise, we see similar improvement, but much higher variance between days, and our progress regresses for a few days and then goes back up in our last days of training. In strafe track, our first score was 79,118, and our best score of 97,475 occurred on day 7. Here we saw a great improvement the first few days and a very linear graph for the following days. This is not a bad thing, as it shows that we are consistently performing at a higher level every day. In 6 shot, our first score was 90,094, and our best score of 113,999 occurred on day 14, our final day. In this exercise, we saw very linear improvement with progress happening every day. Honestly, this was my favorite exercise since from the start of the experiment, it was the one that I did best in. The best score placed us in the top 20 for this exercise. In sphere track, our first score of 65,047 and our best score of 105,306 occurred in day 9. This exercise is where we had the greatest improvement, and I already know why. Since I played mostly games such as CSGO and Valorant before this experiment, my tracking skills were mostly in the X dimension, or simply in the left and right movement. At the start of this experiment, my movement up and down was horrible, but it quickly saw improvement. This led to this exercise affecting my skills the most. Since I recently started playing Call of Duty Warzone, I have been putting this tracking skill to use in every single game. So in the end, what do all these graphs show? Simply put, aim training makes a difference. We were able to see improvement in every single exercise, as well as begin to notice the improvements in game. During this process, I rose from Diamond to Immortal in Valorant, and everyone I regularly played with mentioned how much better I was performing. You might be looking at these graphs and saying to yourself, wow, his original 6-shot score was 90k, or his original grid shot score was 80k. I could barely hit half of that on my best day. How does this improvement apply to me? And I want to remind you that I had been playing games like CSGO on and off for 10 years now, so I have a solid baseline to start from. On the other hand, look at my performance in sphere track. Show my starting numbers to anyone, and they will say that I have been playing FPS games for only a few months. My original score of 65k is 40k less than what I was able to achieve within 2 weeks. To anyone who is trying out an aim trainer and having poor results right now, this is the greatest inspiration that I could give you. The lower your results are right now, the more room you have to grow and make progress. In weightlifting, we call this newbie gains, and I think that applies here also. The farther you are from your skill potential, the more growth you will be able to make in a short duration of time. So how will this affect your aim in the long run? Well, I can tell you for certain that it will make it better. By how much and how fast? That is determined by how much time you put in. In these 2 weeks, we saw great progress. But this isn't the end to our experiment. I continue to use an aim trainer every single day, so check back in 2 more weeks to see what a month of using an aim trainer can do for your aim. So make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as that bell icon to know when the video goes live. Thank you for sticking around for the whole video, and as always, make sure to hit that like button and share your opinions down below. Peace out. It's not a game, it's a